At any rate, we had an incredible dip today, what could be described as a staggering dip. But the reality is that we're still very much so in a macro bull trend. And when we find ourselves in these moments where essentially the market turns bloody red and all signs are still pointing up as far as the cycle, then we know that we're actually in a very opportunistic moment where we've had the ability to bring the train back on some of the most impactful and some of the most interesting projects in the space. And being able to do that is a way to take advantage, to seize upon an opportunity and almost rewind time and get in at an earlier stage in projects that we do already know are hotly anticipated and providing a ton of value to the space. So for that reason, it's very important that on days like today, bloody red days, that we look at projects that we may have missed our opportunity to get into, projects that fit into extremely strong narratives, and understanding that this market moves at warp speed. 1 week is like a month, 1 month is like a year. It really does feel like August was a year ago. I don't know how you guys feel, but I am absolutely time warped these days. And seeing this big dump to me is very exciting because nothing has changed about the macro backdrop, meaning that we get to look at some of the most exciting projects in the space, and a lot of them are going to be on discount. Now, of course, some of them are going to be very much so not on a discount, and we'll talk about that as well. Because understanding the coins that people are flocking to, the coins that people are jumping into on days that are bloody red like this is a big tip as to where the money goes. You can always follow the money in crypto. You always follow the money. And the big money tends, over the course of this history of this industry, to be right almost every single time. And the beautiful thing about blockchain is that this information is 100% public. And so it's going to be really awesome. Let's go through and see what's been going on in the industry, track the different movements, and talk about some gems, not necessarily undiscovered, tiny microcap gems, but maybe some of those gems that are maybe already getting a little bit of traction, fitting into strong narratives. And today on the big dump days, that's your chance to get into some of these projects that you may have missed out on. So we'll talk about that as well. Really excited to see all you guys in the chat. Very excited. I'll go through some comments really quickly. I see a lot of YFV. I see a lot of I see Dia. I see YFL, lots of YFs. We'll talk about some YF stuff throughout this episode. And then we'll also talk about what I think of as really the point of the moment we're in, which is the pain points that we've all been experiencing. But first, let's dive in here. And let's talk about some macro backdrop. As you guys know, for me, macro backdrop is one of the most important pieces of analysis. By having a strong understanding of the macro movements of the market, you can understand where the opportunities are. I've said this pretty much time and time again, that without understanding the macro backdrop, you're essentially, your research is almost useless. Because if you don't understand the moment that you're in, whether bullish or bearish, then you're pretty much incapable of performing adequate, and your actions are just not going to reap the rewards unless you wait for a very long time. And so let's talk a little bit about some macro backdrop here, as we know that we had a flash crash here, but the reality is that the futures, the options, the open interest, which are the most sophisticated traders in this entire industry. If you've been a follower of this channel, you know how significant the derivatives market is in my mind. And that's because I know derivatives traders. And they are, if you think, you know the galaxy brain meme where you have the small brain, the big brain, the galaxy brain, the quant derivative traders are by far the most talented, the most sophisticated in the space. And so seeing how they're setting their trades up, seeing where the open interest is headed, at least in mass, is an incredibly useful statistic. So when we see here that ETH options are still favoring a $500 Ethereum, we know that this bull run is still chugging along, regardless of the bloody red day that we've experienced. And so the 10% dump, especially obviously Ethereum and Bitcoin, have been struggling. They've been pretty range bound, trying to struggle to get out and break out of their trends. But Ethereum, obviously, with the desperate need to scoop up more and more Ethereum to pay for these gas prices, whether or not that's success or a total failure, of course, is up for debate. But what we know here is that those betting on $500 Ethereum should be pleased to know that open interest has actually been increasing despite a 35% 30-day rally up to 480. So what we know is that the overall sentiment towards the open interest for the quant traders, the most sophisticated traders in the entire ecosystem, is very much so bullish. And that to me is exciting, especially as we have big red numbers to go by. Now, you know me, I'm a big fan of big red numbers. Once you've done your fundamental analysis, once you've done your various forms of analysis of cycle, narrative, technology, team, tokenomics, and then of course price, what you're left with is, if you get a big red dump, that's often a great time to get your foothold in on a great project. Rainer Rodriguez, $2 tip, says, hey you. Thank you, Rainer. I appreciate it. Hey you back. So this is what I'd like to start with, right? Because if things had changed on a macro level, that's a sign that you may want to be cautious. There may very well be a point in the future, and it will happen, with a cycle like this that has so many projects based on, I hate to say it, thin air. There's a lot of, not even white paper projects, but there's a lot of projects that are just coming out and taking huge market share long before they have working products. This type of a cycle is most likely going to lead to a huge overvaluation, and then you get a crash, right? But we're not there yet, and I'm hoping we're nowhere close. But we should always be prepared for the reality that there may be a market signal that we would want to get into stable coins, or that we'd want to start taking more significant profits. And over the last week, we've seen the birth of a lot of meme coins, a lot of sushi, a lot of kimchi, a lot of tendies, a lot of ridiculous projects that almost, make me feel silly for bringing up. And while there are some huge gains to be had there are huge losses as well. And it does make me feel as though it brings even more value to the original king corn that is Bitcoin. And so I'm going to be updating my original 40-40-10-10 to be a 10-20-30-40, a 10-20-30-40, meaning that I'm putting 10% in Ethereum, 20% in Bitcoin, 30% to be left in the coin, and 40% to be reinvested in new gems. If you are following the channel, I had a 10-10-40-40, which was 40% in the coin, 40% reinvested, 10 in each Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I'm upping that now to 20% in Bitcoin, because I believe that there will be a lot of essential hot air in this market, and that we want to curb against that. We want to hedge against that. And I believe Bitcoin is your best hedge against that. So that's going to be my outlook as I have really big pops. If I get 5-10x on any coin, I'm going to be using a 10-20-30-40 instead of my traditional 10-10-40-40. So that's my update, and that's my sort of, the markets change and mentalities need to evolve. Just like the narratives change and the actual coins and the gems that matter tend to evolve. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And here is, Max Kaiser. He's talking about how essentially Bitcoin is going to do for you what he says you can't do for yourself, and that is to make you rich. I'm not going to play the clip, but I found it was very interesting. I'm not usually a fan of Bitcoin maximalists, but I do think there is a great macro backdrop for Bitcoin, and that if this money printing is to take place as it appears to be, then it seems as though Bitcoin is going to be in for an amazing next year or two. So that's my sort of outlook. So one of the biggest narratives that we're going to be talking about today is, of course, scaling, because the fees have become almost meme-like, almost so ridiculous that they defy explanation. And so for me, the scaling solutions, the solutions that alleviate congestion on the network, whether that be a second layer, another chain, interoperability, a second layer on Ethereum, a second layer on Uniswap, whatever the reality of that is, those are the key focus, because this Uniswap ecosystem is essentially being ground to a halt, where even big bags trading $5,000, a few $1,000s, if you have a fee of, maybe $50 and you have a few failed transactions, maybe you have to stake, and like if you're doing the staking stuff with the yield farming, that could be several transactions, and all of a sudden you're racking up hundreds of dollars in fees, which starts to really add up. And so I believe that this scaling debate is going to absolutely be one of the key focuses of the next few weeks, and certainly months, until we get some alleviation, some relief. We need a relief valve. And so that's what I'm super excited about hearing about. Yes, interoperability is a buzzword. However, interoperability is possible right now It's just not being used because the convenience factor isn't there. As soon as we build out more convenience, as soon as the user experience makes sense, one of these interoperable chains, for example, interoperable token swap ecosystems, once those come along and you actually are able to have access to the coins and assets and experience that you're getting on Uniswap, if we are so lucky as to have that happen, well, that's when you'll see the jump, right? Because I believe you go to the user doesn't come to you. That's a fundamental fact that I've been building essentially all my products and all my professional life around, is that you don't change the user. You don't change the user. You change to accommodate the user. And so here we're talking about Phantom Finance. Obviously, we went over this yesterday. I think Phantom is a very interesting part of this. They're trying to do this essentially through synthetics. Again, this might not take off. It might take off, but I think the connection here and the real ace up the sleeve of Andre Cronje being a part of the Phantom project makes me very bullish, right? I'm very excited about what they're going to do to enable essentially instant gas-free swaps, even if it is through synthetics. So I think that this is one player that you want to be keeping your eyes on, because Phantom could very well be, there's going to be a race. This is a race. Who's going to take the market share? There's various opportunities here. One, we get second layer scaling on Ethereum. Two, we get interoperability solutions, which will probably keep developing regardless of that. Three, we get some scaling from Ethereum. Seems like that's probably the lowest likelihood given what we've seen here. But regardless, these are all going to be targets for the new narrative, which is that DeFi does not work without more scalability. I believe it does work, but it doesn't work as well, right? These fees, even for big bag holders, are getting ridiculous. I'm hearing it from even bigger people. And so this is the reality, is that the actual full scaling for ETH2 is, according to the MyEther wallet people, still years away, though I do believe that phase 0, the beacon chain, will happen this year. So I'm extremely excited. All right, we got people trolling in the chat. Gotta get rid of that. I gotta get a moderator too. So maybe if you guys are part of my Telegram community and you want to be a moderator, hit me up there. We'll talk about it. But yeah, I jumped ahead here. I also tweeted this morning. So I said, what's the biggest Polkadot ecosystem dip today? Because obviously we know that interoperability, scaling, cross-chain, all of these things, blockchain, Web3, these are all narratives that fit into the Polkadot ecosystem narrative, and it's very exciting. And so I tweeted this, and it seems like, out of all the projects, it seems like we had, without a doubt, Edgeware was the biggest drop, which we'll get to in a second. And so we're going to go over these. But first, we're going to look at both Phantom and Serum. I just had these up here because they're doing really well. Like I said, they were on my coins picks for this month. Even during the dip, they're doing well, which I'm excited about because I think these coins could do very well this month. But then you're looking at something like a Matic, right, which is at 89 million market cap, one of the biggest contenders for layer 2 scaling, and has amazing partnerships in the space. And they're not on the floor here. They're not like rock bottom of like a little less than a penny. They're at, 2.5 cents, right? Their peak price looks like they're up here at about 4 cents. So, who knows, right? I'm not betting big on Matic right now, but they're definitely one of the players to keep in mind because they'll be a prime target here for some of the scaling action. Of course, we have XDAI Stake, which made the list. And just so you guys know, I was on the phone with some Ethereum devs from Consensus, very accomplished and very connected inner circle type devs on Ethereum, and they were talking about XDAI to me. And so this is, to me, starting to shape up and look like one of the go-to scaling mechanisms of choice. And as you can see, it's been trudging along. This dump actually took it down to a little more of a reasonable level here. But if you look at the chart, you can see that if you look at the lows, look at the chart's lows, you can see a steady trend still holding here. So it looks like this thing, even though it dumped about 8%, 10% at the lowest trough there, is still holding its trend line. And like I said, if we're comparing this to an OMG, sorry, dude, where's my OMG tab? Where is my OMG tab? There it is. If we're comparing this to an OMG, right, Omise Go at a 630 million market cap, which is a second layer scaling solution, very different in its approach, but still the same approach and arguably not as production ready as XDAI Stake. XDAI stake at 88 million compared to the 650 million in OMG, well, it seems like XDAI stake, if it's delivering more value at this point, is still very much undervalued, and it fits into what are the problems that we're having on the current Ethereum mainnet? What are the problems that the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem is experiencing? And what are the most likely solutions? Yeah, I know a lot of people were saying, oh, this thing's already pumped and it was way lower. It was on the ground here. Of course, it's been cheaper. But does that mean that it doesn't have room to grow? It's a little bit of like, okay, it's not an altcoin gem. I'm not presenting this to you as an undiscovered coin, right? Everybody's been talking about it. But I'm just presenting to you the narrative as to why I think this thing could, especially if it starts absorbing a lot of this layer 2 action, a lot of the energy that people are expecting for it to absorb here as a layer 2. This could truly take off, right? It could truly take off, and this could, a 10x from here is certainly possible. Certainly possible. Is it going to happen overnight? I don't think so, right? But it could certainly happen, right? And so that's why it's important to understand narrative, understand how big the problem you're solving is. Because if you're going to essentially be the relief valve that allows for this Ethereum ecosystem to scale and to continue to grow and prosper despite the weight of its new usage, then this particular coin and this particular chain could end up exploding in value. And look at the daily activity on Uniswap is reaching $1 billion. So if this starts to transfer over to XDAI stake along with smart contracts and all the other dApps that want to run on Ethereum, well, this could very well end up becoming a very valuable piece of technology, right? So I'm just saying the scaling solution is worth a whole lot of money in US dollar value, and understanding what could be the actual solutions is very important, even if they've already pumped, right? Even if they've already pumped. And believe me, I was annoyed when Vitalik looked at this, because I was planning on talking about XDAI stake, and then Vitalik tweeted about it, and it kind of like, then you got Chico and Ivan and everyone talking about it, so it kind of blew up. But regardless, it's important that I equip you with the knowledge that just because this thing's pumped, this is not a comparison to one of those tiny little coins, with a 3 million market cap that pumped to 20, and now who knows if it's going to pump again to 100, maybe it'll go a lot slower. This is solving a really big issue. So if it's successful, it could grow tremendously. And even just to catch up with OMG, which people think it's a better version than OMG, right? So even just catching up to OMG, it would have to do, what is this, 80 million into 630, right? That's almost an 8x, right? Almost an 8x. Again, of course, we have DOT, and you can see it's pretty much just holding here at 624. Again, a beastly project, and that shows you how strong the narrative is, that it just doesn't want to lose any of those gains. You can see here that it doesn't really want to go below this $5.50 range, and yeah, it's the narrative around scaling interoperability and relieving this Ethereum congestion is driving DOT to the moon. And we're going to be talking about DIA in a second. Very exciting stuff that it got listed on Binance. Again, I believe I was the first channel to talk about DIA, and very, very successful project at that. And then you see Kusama, right? Kusama is an integral part of the Polkadot ecosystem as well. And it's not just holding, but it growing. By what did it grow? I think this is, it shows the total. This is the highest it's been, but 56, it's up almost 35%, right? That's crazy on a big dump day. And it shows you that smart money is, dumping out of certain assets into things that are going to have strong narrative and growth behind it, right? This is a very good sign for the Polkadot narrative that things are not just holding, but they're continuing to build and grow. And so the next topic that we're going to be talking about is going to be, of course, Polkadot, right? When is Polkadot delivering? That's a good question. I'll be connecting with the teams and getting you some more specifics on that. That's also a question. It's exactly when is this party going to start? It's also worth noting that in cryptocurrency, for some reason, for the better or for the worse, it's sort of a buy the rumor and sell the news type of economy where people tend to front run things. They tend to buy things before. So that's one of the things that I want to point out here is that sometimes the run up is a more profitable time than the actual launch. Sad, but just the way things work here. So MonsterDAO Ohm, of course, it's bounced up a little bit, quite a bit. I think it was down about 10% earlier today when I was looking at it. It seems to have bounced up a little bit. But again, MonsterDAO, the fact that it's only down 2.7%, again, shows me how strong that narrative is when this is arguably one of the more frothy tokens on the the Polkadot ecosystem. And again, it shows you that it's going to be setting up for a strong month. When you see that Mantra DAO is still holding strong, it reaffirms my putting them on the list, especially in anticipation of the RFuel Rio Chain launch, which the public sale is at the end of this month. And as I understand, you need to be holding Ohm to get into it. So I think Ohm is going to have a really strong month. But then we get into a little bit more of a deeper red on sale coin here, which is HUUUUUUGE. Now, I'm going to be completely honest. I stayed away from HUUUUUUGE because I didn't understand really the value of the proof of work chain on Substrate, especially given that Bitcoin's going to be wrapped in being on Substrate. So is it an asset? A lot of things that I'm still not fully red pilled on. But a lot of people, congrats to the HUUUUUUGE fam. They got a 10x here. So we'll see if this thing holds or if it dips a little more. But this could very well, if this ends up being a hot ticket on the Polkadot narrative, if this thing dips back down, maybe a little lower, maybe back down to like that 90-cent range, or maybe even a little lower than that, maybe I'm going to jump in. It's a little too hot for me. I personally am a little bit more into the Edgeware dip, and that got bought up a little bit. As you can see, there's a little pop here. But this came down all the way down to about 12 cents with a market cap. As we can see, the market cap dipped all the way down here to about 65 million, which is, I believe the market cap was over 120 at one point. Let's see here. The market cap here. Yes, it was 140 at one point, right? So now if you're looking at the market cap dipping down into the 60s, it's less than 50% of what it was a couple of days ago. And if this Polkadot narrative keeps going, it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens here with some of these that took a big dip down. And we're seeing some Falcon Swap equals scam XRP, not blockchain technology. Interesting. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about Falcon Swap at the end. And then, so this Edgeware thing is very interesting, right? Because they're claiming to be the first smart contract chain on Polkadot, where once Polkadot is live, Edgeware will be the easiest and simplest way to deploy code to the Polkadot network. They also have some interesting stuff about, on-chain identity, quadratic voting, modular governance, stuff that maybe is, I don't know how useful all that stuff is, but it's interesting, right? So Edgeware, definitely one of the more pricey projects in the Polkadot ecosystem. So seeing it take this big hit, I would say it's probably the biggest on sale discount of all the Polkadot ecosystem projects, especially given that it fell from this, what did this peak up at? What did this hit? 150? Yeah, it was up at 150 and it dipped down to, what is that? What did it dip down to? Like 50 here? 66? So not quite a 70% discount, something like that, right? And that's pretty interesting, right? When you see a coin that fits the narrative, seems to have great tech, great team, strong community, and it's part of a strong narrative, right? I keep emphasizing that word. That becomes quite interesting, and you can see the dip started to get bought up here already. Ooh, popped up. Ooh, is it really all the way up to 93 million again? Oh, that's annoying. Is that real? Did it? Oh my gosh. See, as I'm talking, this thing pops from, this thing pops up from 60 million all the way up to 90 million. Pretty much a 50% pop. Is that a 50% pop right there? Something like that. So again, it just shows you that the narrative about finding these great projects and seeing the big red numbers, those are the numbers you want to hop on. And we'll see if it's able to overcome some of this resistance and keep trudging up here. Because if it goes from 60 up again to over 100, that's a clean 2x for someone like without blinking, right? And so that just shows you that these strategies are strong. In the bull run, buying the dips on strong coins with strong tech community and narrative above all else is really a profitable way to go. Obviously not financial advice, just stuff that's worked for me. Again, Acropolis, one of my favorite projects, now pretty much making all-time highs on this big red day. And that just shows you when you identify these projects early, the ones providing real tech and value, even on these red days, it's just a very good game to be playing. Serum is looking nice. Yes, Serum is absolutely a phenomenal project. FTX is, to me, the real Chad futures platform. They are leaving everyone in the dust, and their founder being behind Serum and wanting to push for the decentralization. I mean, it hits every single box for me, Serum. Whether it's overpriced or not right now, it's hard to say, right? It's still in price discovery, but based on some information that I have been presented, again, I haven't been talking to the founder, but I've heard some information that they're going to be doing some very interesting things with the Serum token this month and adding some really cool functionality to the Serum DEX. So I'm looking forward to that. But again, it just shows you this Polkadot narrative so strong. So looking at those underpriced red tokens on Polkadot is a good way to go about these big red dumps. It's a pretty not set it and forget it, right? That's not how alt season works. But I'm absolutely a huge fan of looking into the DOT ecosystem and seeing which ones are really truly having bad days. And so Edgeware obviously popped significantly since I was going to talk. Obviously, it's on the thumbnail. I don't know if people are front running the thumbnail, but regardless, yeah, Solana is where they're launching Serum on. So Solana, another very interesting scaling solution that you should be looking into, though it is quite expensive already. But I'm hearing great stuff. ChainX, again, down a little bit from its peak, about $10. Again, you guys know I'm a fan of ChainX. Yeah, it was almost at $10 here. Now it's down at $7. Who knows? Maybe that's a great opportunity right there. Obviously, my ChainX bags were packed around this sort of $3 to $4 range. Great job, Elio. Have you heard about HashGuard, please? Yeah, I have done some diving into HashGuard. I don't have a final opinion on it. I try to make sure to not give you guys half-formed opinions, especially as this channel, gosh, almost 1,600 of you guys in this chat. If you guys do me a favor, it would really warm my heart. If you guys all destroyed that like button, I see it's still alive for some of you guys. It's still alive. But as far as me giving you guys half-baked opinions, it's just the channel's gotten too big for that. And I see the market's moving so fast that people will take one snippet of what I say and go put it all on that coin. And even though I try to impress upon you to do your own research and equip you with the tools, that's just the reality. And so I'm trying to be very cautious about providing my opinions. And providing rounded opinions. So as far as HashGuard, I'm not there yet. But it's interesting. It's very interesting. Dia getting the Coinbase listing today. Just wanted to touch on that because obviously, I believe when I find projects that I get really excited about, I believe that they have the ability to go all the way and that a Dia could end up on like a Coinbase, right? And so seeing it get this Binance listing is just extremely exciting, right? When we found this thing, it had a 5 million market cap. It's pulled, I guess they had a huge emission of tokens, but it was about $1, so it's pulled a 400% growth and just excited. Got a lot of comments from the community saying that they did well with Dia, and it makes me happy that you guys are doing well, right? That makes me happiest of all. And then so one of the things I wanted to talk about today, probably one of the only opportunities really remaining here, is the Darwinia commitment token on Katon, which is actually a really interesting token that I believe could hit 500 or 1,000 depending on how far this bull run goes. Depending on if we're able to stay bullish through the end of the year. I believe that an EOY target could be between 500 and 1,000 for this one. So seeing it pull back and dump a little bit was exciting. I increased my bags of that because, one of the people I respect in this sort of altcoin space have been trying to red pill me on it for a while, and I think I get it. It's just really scarce, and they're doing a really awesome interoperable play here. So Darwinia Network is going to be very much the internet of tokens connected, which, as we've seen here, is an increasingly exciting opportunity. If you can connect the Uniswap ecosystem with things going on with Bitcoin and Tron and EOS and, for example, Elrond, right? There's going to be all these projects that are existing on all these different chains. And the more we have interoperability and actual cross-chain dexes where you can trade freely, that's the future. And so I'm very excited about this. This is obviously part of multiple narratives. The cross-chain bridge, the Polkadot ecosystem, they're not focusing on just, Bitcoin to Ethereum like all these other bridges are. And so Tron to Ethereum, right, that's the only one I've seen doing that, right? They have some dApps already taking root. And so I'm excited. And Katon here, sorry. Katon is the reward token, which there will only ever be 55,000 or 50,000 of or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what the circulating supply is right now, but it's pretty scarce, right? Even with 50,000, that would put this at, I think, is this math right? Yeah, 15 million, 16 million. So even if all the tokens were circulating, which I do not believe they are at all, that would put this at a 17 million market cap for a Polka ecosystem coin, which could be a huge reward coin. Obviously, it's not the value of this needs to be calculated as the ring token plus this, right? So this is a $63 million market cap because the ring token is the native token of Darwinian native network. However, this is the rewards token. So the rewards should be some kind of meaningful portion of the actual network, right? Because if you're rewarding people for staking and locking their coins up for a long time, it needs to be worth their time expense, right? And so for me, this is a very interesting project, which I believe fits into all the narratives. It checks a lot of the boxes, right? And so seeing it have a 7% dump, I wish it was more, right? I wish we got more like a 30% dump. But as you see here earlier today, if you had caught the knife here at 277, now you'd already be sitting on some nice gains, right? So on these red days, I'm trying to show you the way I think and the way that you can really take advantage to curb your risks. And of course, in a frothy market like this, going for coins, even if they're not going to give you like the 100x opportunity, going for coins that look like they're building real steam with real products and real technology, that is a phenomenal way to navigate, right? Teller is coming for Chainlink. Yeah, TRB, as you know, they were on my list this month, and they're launching V2, which is critical because their V1's way too slow. It's way too slow. And so that's one of the things that I've been very, very very focused on is understanding what the Oracle game will hold. And, unpopular opinion is that, I personally, after looking at documentation, I do really like Band. I think Band may very well surprise people continually, right? I'm a big fan of Band on a product side. I think Link is kind of got the Ethereum effect going. Community's so strong. So many things about it. However, from a product side, I really like Band. Teller, obviously, from a product side, has a lot of room to grow here because they're the most decentralized, which makes them obviously desirable for a lot of different use cases. But as far as the product use case, they need to upgrade. And so their upgrade will, I think, give them a huge dose of life. So let's see. Ocean is the future. Yep, they were on my August list. Big fan of Ocean. Acro thoughts. Yep, big fan of Acro. We just talked about them. Top 3 favorite long term. Gosh, it's kind of a hard question to answer. Still bullish on YFE. I am, right? I am bullish on YFE because let me check to make sure that they still have the Yearn YF value. Let me make sure I'm getting to the right one. If they still have the same ratio of locked capital, then I'm still excited about it, right? And yeah, they still have hundreds of millions more locked than they actually have in market cap. So I think this thing could catch a wave. But again, these things trend. They tend to have a bit of, gosh, I don't want to use that word. I don't want to use a negative word, but these yield farming things have started to take on a little bit of Ponzi-nomics, right? Where they're starting to feel like it's just all about hype, right? It's not even about this fundamental. So we'll see. This is a good one. If fundamentals matter at all, then this thing should absolutely gain in value with the audits, the total value locked, and we'll see about that. As far as the degen plays, which this is, make no mistake, all of these yield farming tokens, they are what you have to classify as degens here, right? Degen plays, because they're not based on they're only so fundamentally driven. It's just based upon crowd hype and movement of money. And so it's kind of like the kimchi thing or the yam thing or whatever. It works while it works and then it doesn't, right? These are not my big long-term bets. They're just, hey, if this trend continues, then based upon, the motion of the ocean, this should be successful. But yeah, the yield farming stuff I take smaller bites of just because I'm not able to do as strong of a fundamental analysis, and I love to do fundamental analysis. It's what I think it's what I think I'm best at, right? And so yeah, I don't want to touch too much on this because there's nothing to Unitrade obviously killing it, absolutely smashing it. Maybe that's some insiders that know the product's looking good, right? Again, this is all dependent on whether they actually release their product and gain market share. But I did mention them on my coins list, right? And then we also have Falcon Swap. I don't want to talk too much about this because it's not worth talking about until we get some confirmation. Either they're going to deliver the product or they're not, right? That's the risk here. And I made that, I think, as abundantly clear as I could humanly make it in my video, that there is a huge risk profile here as we don't know whether they're going to deliver. However, if they do deliver oh my gosh, would this be just the biggest breath of fresh air for people to be saving 80% on fees, right? That would be insane. If your $40 fee was $5, you would not blink at it, right? And so this Falcon swap thing, I'm not going to talk it anymore. I've seen the videos claiming it's a scam. That's why I put all those disclaimers in my video, because I realized all of these things are risks, right? But what can I say? I'm not going to give it any more or less of a stamp, right? Either they're going to deliver or they're not. And that's why it's a huge risk, huge reward type thing. If they do deliver and they deliver this month, the rewards for that could be huge. If they don't deliver, obviously the consequences would be equally huge, right? So it's just a matter of your risk tolerance. And I made that very, very clear in my video that this is a high risk play. So, you know, in high risk plays, do you go and put all your money on, you know, a single number at the roulette table? No, when it's a high risk play, you manage risk. But if this thing does end up solving the congestion on Uniswap, well, it's only got an $11 million market cap, guys. 11 million, right? How much is the Uniswap daily volume? It's gonna be hitting 1 billion casually very soon. So that's what this problem is worth, and it's worth, at least to me. I made the choice for my own risk profile to be in it, but I've seen the people accusing it of being a scam, and you know, I'm still holding. So I want to see if they do it. Yep, yeah, exactly. And I talked to Light Liger, the YouTuber who made that video, and we agree, right? They either will or they won't, right? There's, you know, those VCs don't prove anything. It doesn't prove anything either that it's legit or not legit. It's just a matter of we'll see, right? It's the LEO army is buying up TRB. Smart buy, I think. I believe, you know, DYOR, but that's what I believe. YFB. So yeah, I don't normally do this stuff, and you guys know I'm not a big into the degen plays, but my guy Lucky, who I don't mind shouting out here because I think, you know, I've had a lot of private conversations with him, and he's a smart individual, worth following on Twitter for sure. And he's called 4 Binance listings in a row with TRB, RSR, YFII, and now DIA. And yeah, he on my page, I actually retweeted him. And guys, if you're not following me on Twitter, I'd appreciate the follow. Let me see if I have the link in the description here. No, I don't, but it's twitter.com/LEO trades will get you there. And so I posted this, which is he tweeted that degen play, high risk, not an FA play, not a fundamental analysis play. I classify all the YFI forks as high risk. But I bought another one here, YFB. YF Beta uses yields generated from farming other protocols. Anyway, I'm not going to go ahead and try to convince you that this play is smart on a fundamental level, because I don't believe that that's the approach here. It's just that this thing seems to have some boxes ticked for the yield farmer, the extremely ravenous YF crew. And I took a little bite of it this morning. But again, this is extreme risk. If it goes completely away and it completely dumps, do not come crying to me, because I'm not telling you to take a big bite. But I took a very small bite simply because Lucky has been, you know, dare I say, a lucky man of late. So, you know, I took a little bite. You know, I've been very resistant to the YF sort of thing, as you guys know, but I took a little bite of this and a little bite of YFV, and we'll see how we do. Again, guys, some of this stuff is not based upon logic, as you know. I prefer to stay grounded in logic, and that's what I do the vast majority of my content on, but the space is the space, and the space is not exclusively a logical space at the moment. So when someone who I respect tells me about a 1 million market cap YF clone that he thinks has potential, I'll take a little bite. So at any rate, my point here is actually saying what I really want you to do is follow Lucky, because I think he's a good content creator. And yeah, we've been exchanging thoughts and growing together. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me on the planned content. So I'll turn over to some Q&A now. 1,750 people in the chat. Guys, this is the most I've ever had in a live stream. Thank you guys so much for following the channel, for all of the support. It's been truly meaningful to me. Getting so many comments and DMs saying that people are doing well, that they've been able to have success in this market, following the content, and that stuff, I can't tell you how much that means to me. Tomo Chain, do you think it's a good long-term hold? By the way, I absolutely love your content. Tomo Chain doesn't really fit the narrative of DeFi at the moment, right? So Tomo Chain, shout out to Tomo Chain. I actually know their team. They're an interesting team. They have a big user base in Vietnam. The thing about having a large user base in Vietnam is that doesn't necessarily translate to a huge dollar value, but they have a scalable chain and they're doing interesting things, right? I personally don't hold. any Tomo chain, and I don't think they fit into the narrative of DeFi as of right now. But they're a blockchain, right? Any blockchain can add DeFi sort of features and dApps, but I don't think they fit into core narratives right now. And, I don't typically invest heavily into Southeast Asian projects just because there's just not a lot of capital down there. So they have a great user base, and I think they'll be around for a long time, and they could very well pump hard, but I am not a big bag holder, and I don't intend to buy any. Apollo FinTech's government solution, including the national payment platform, make DeFi look like a Tonka truck, and I'm a huge DeFi fan. So, yes, there's a lot of things that will make DeFi look like a Tonka truck. That's not, I think, the way to be looking at this. The way to be looking at this is that what Uniswap has enabled is a totally free market that has no barriers to entry. There's no KYC, there's no listing fees. That presents tremendous opportunities, tremendous risks, as we know. And so there's a lot of advantages to decentralization that we're now really reaping those rewards. And so to compare any single product or essential blockchain or piece of technology to DeFi, most of these, especially if they're working with governments, won't have that openness to them. And so for that reason, you cannot expect the same type of global mass adoption waves. And that's just the sort of double-edged sword of this, is the technology doesn't even have to be the best in class. There are certain attributes to decentralization that make it so that people are willing to pay the increased fees. And so just because you could have JP Morgan create an automated market maker as well as decentralized exchange or an automated lending platform like Lend or like Compound, a farming platform, well, they're not going to do it the same as, probably Andre Cronje. And so for that reason, you have to look at the whole picture, understand user adoption, the global nature of the markets, and just really the ethos of the crypto community as well. And I think that what you'll find is that that's the reason why Ethereum has remained the de facto smart contracts platform, despite cheaper, faster, better, being pretty much across the board with scalable smart contracts platforms emerging left, right, and center over the past, 4 or 5 years now. Not 5, 4 probably. We've seen time after time people promise to iterate and improve upon one aspect of Ethereum, and it's failed to actually remove any market share from Ethereum. In fact, Ethereum, I believe, has become even more dominant, right? And seeing that with Bitcoin as well, how many cheaper, faster, easier to use cryptocurrencies have promised to displace Bitcoin, but it's not going to happen, right? Because Bitcoin is the wealth mechanism, and the more, I guess, what you see as de facto inflation, you see tons of crypto trash flooding the ecosystem. So without something that we can all agree for sure, this is a value and it will remain a value, like Bitcoin, it makes it really tricky because you need something like Bitcoin, especially as things get more complex and more layers. Does Bitcoin get wrapped and used on different chains? Sure, whatever. It's just a matter of Bitcoin has fended off all of its competitors for the store of value, I believe, and that Ethereum now is going to prove that it's fended off almost all its competitors, and that Polkadot, I don't believe, kills Ethereum. I believe Polkadot improves Ethereum. Let me catch up on some super chats here. Drew Fensk, $5 tip, no comment. Shout out to you, Drew. Appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys tremendously. I'm extremely humbled by the following and by the energy of this entire channel. Chase Milhorn, looking for the long-term utility and popular use case argument. What are your thoughts on DMG? So my thought on DMG is I'm a big fan. Made a video on it. Like to see them deliver. Again, they got pretty pricey, right? I think DMG ended up in the hundreds of millions. Gosh, it's fallen like a rock since I talked about it. So that's the thing, is this one was just like a big sort of sale where, does this thing catch up and eventually grow and go parabolic? Maybe, but they started here with them. Yeah, so we just see here, I think their market cap was over 150 million. No, it was over 50 million. Okay, so not as bad, but this thing could totally take off. They just need more usage, right? Show me the users. Show me the users and I'll show you the value. Sometimes it's that simple. So I think DMG is very interesting, maybe a long-term play, but I want to see more usage. I want to see more adoption. I want to see more differentiation. I get that they're bringing real assets onto the blockchain. That stuff's exciting to me. But show me the real assets. Show me who's doing it. Show me the actual full user flow, and I'll show you an opinion on them. Eli Nuss, check out DeFiat, really awesome DeFi protocol with amazing governance system, allows farming pools with any ERC20. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of DeFiat. Again, I haven't had a chance to look into it. Thanks a lot. I know you've been following the channel, Eli. Thanks a lot for the donation. I really appreciate it. I'll get to one last super chat. Keep it up, says Nature Symmetry, $5 donation. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Let me get to some non-super chats. YF Beta, yep, just talked about it. Elio, did you see the value in emerging Tron DeFi ecosystem? Are there some sleepers on there? So, yeah, Tron, it's definitely low fee, but I just, I don't personally see it displacing a lot of things yet because all of the assets are still being created on Ethereum. All the different protocols that you're farming on, Compound, Maker, Curve, the things that YFI is tapping into, the things that the YFI clones are tapping into, it's all native to Ethereum. So you'd have to not just build one house or one island, but you'd have to build a complex ecosystem to really take people away from Ethereum. I don't think the game is in taking people away from Ethereum, just like I don't think the game is in taking people away from Bitcoin. I think it's about making Bitcoin better, more scalable, more useful. I think it's about making Ethereum better, more scalable, more useful. But if you're trying to essentially create a brand new island, I don't think that's the path to the most success. Now, there's a lot of volume on Tron. There's a lot of different volume of transactions on Tron's Just Swap. But again, it's hard to know if those are legit volume transactions because the reality is it's very cheap to make transactions on Tron. So sometimes free, right? So it's just on volume alone. It's hard to say what is going to be a challenge to what's going on Ethereum. What's happening on Ethereum is nothing short of magical, guys. It is an incredible thing to see this decentralized ecosystem boom. And so I'm really excited to see what comes next, and hopefully we can get some scaling. But yeah, Elrond, ERD, again, very exciting, but they're big on interoperable, right? They're big on interoperable, and interoperable, I think, is the next phase. I don't think it's about displacing Ethereum. I think it's about interoperating with and alleviating congestion on Ethereum. XEM, gosh, I haven't heard about them in forever. QuantStamp, again, interesting, but got crushed during the bear market, and they turned to more sort of general cybersecurity stuff, if I remember. Not bullish on their token. Elliot, do you see value in oh no, I already did that. Okay. Did I miss a super chat? No, I didn't. Okay. Let me scroll up here a little bit. Yep, YF Beta, we talked about it. Elliot, do you think PRQ will get on Binance listing in 2020? I don't know. All I know is that there's rumors that Cello, their partner that they just integrated with, will be listed on Coinbase. And so do I think PRQ is a phenomenal project with huge upside? Yeah, I personally do. Do I think they'll get listed on Binance? That's a totally different beast, right? I don't know. Purex, 1 million market cap. Yep. I'm not bullish on Purex. It's just like one of those like DeFi knockoff projects to me. Just combining buzzwords. I try not to FUD projects as well because it's like I'd rather just steer you towards projects based on logic versus just hating on things, even though that can be educational as well, just me talking about why I don't like a project. But I do my best to try to focus on what's good about projects because I believe it's kind of a given that there's a bunch of trash in crypto. So it's about understanding why the good things are good more than, I guess it's useful to know why the bad things are bad, but it's just, you get into a hole of, it starts becoming a FUD hole. And so I just want to make sure I'm highlighting the good things. Swapfolio guys, I apologize. They've been in my DMs. I looked at them. I wanted to be bullish. I'm just not. I don't see why anyone would use their product. The product seems useless to me. So I'm not a fan. How do I find new coins? I have a crystal ball. Plutus DeFi. Is Plutus DeFi Pluton the card, or is that the staking one? I'm not sure. One like canceled their sale, and the other one is like a card. I think the card one seems interesting. I haven't done a full review on it though. TRB on Coinbase soon. Hey, Teller's a great project. You know who taught me about Teller is actually a creator called Blockchain Brad. Blockchain Brad, if you go to his YouTube, go look at the projects he's covered over the last 9 months. He doesn't upload very often, but if you go look at Blockchain Brad's projects he's covered, go look at when he did the videos and go look at the prices of those coins today. And I think he's definitely worth a follow. Go check out Blockchain Brad. I'm going to have him on the show for an interview soon, so he's going to dump his brain on you guys. Rainer Rodriguez, Plutus DeFi, if it's the one that I think you're talking about, I don't have an opinion yet, but I'm probably not that bullish. Unilayer, yeah, it seems like they're promising a lot, but I also heard some FUD about them, so not quite sure. Again, I think I've already put my name behind enough projects that don't have products yet, which is very against sort of how I go, but it's gut feeling, right? In this market, things are moving so fast that if you wait for the Unitrade project to drop, if you wait for the Falcon Swap project to drop, well, you're probably not going to get a good entry price. So it's just kind of like risk reward, and you have to make trade-offs, you have to make decisions, and managing risk is critical. Understanding that if you're looking for something to 100x, do you put all your eggs in that basket? You don't need to. You don't need to. You take a small bite, because that thing's going to go crazy if you're right. Flow, scale, I'll look into both of those. I've definitely done some cursory research, need to do a little more. PAMP, I didn't get it. I remember when it first popped onto the scene. The tokenomics driven projects I've started to kind of try to stay a little away from, just because there's so many that are like, hey, we have the best tokenomics. We're just going to create so much value by having a burns and deflations and punishing people who sell and long-term stake lockups. And I think we're seeing that those are just so easily knocked off by the next project. Look at Kimchi, right? They're giving you 33,000% APY. It's like you're going to have sort of what I call a race to the bottom with that, which is promising just ridiculous tokenomics. And in the end, I don't care, right? If you have a real product with real users, you don't need magical tokenomics. You'll have market demand, and demand will outstrip supply. Pretty simple. Yes, I have heard of Arweave. Sean Red, thank you for the super chat. Arweave is a very cool project. I believe Coinbase Ventures is invested. I do not know if they have the Coinbase listing yet. However, they're about permanent internet storage. Interesting stuff. I like them. I don't know if it's going to pump. I don't know if it's pump worthy, if it's pumpable, right? I don't know if it's going to go up in value, how big the demand is, but I think it's cool tech. And definitely another one of Blockchain Brad's picks. So, stream issues? Are people having stream issues? Let me know in the chat if you guys are having stream issues. CNS, is that Centric or something? Centric Cash? No, I'm not a fan of that. No way. If that's what I think it is. Cream, crypto rules everything around me. Again, guys, I'm kind of staying a little bit clear of all these just yield farming clones. It just seems a little risky. Like I said, I took a little bite of the one that Lucky recommended just because, he's lucky. What and when are the biggest upcoming milestones in crypto? The ones that build hype and move the market. ETH 2.0 dot milestones, NFTs arrive. So thank you for that question, Scott. I believe you're very active in the Telegram group, which I encourage you guys, if you're not part of the Telegram group, definitely check out the Telegram group, t.me/LeoTradesCrypto. It's a fast-moving space, but there's a lot of gems, and I've been pretty impressed as to how high level the discourse is in there. So big upcoming moments for crypto. 1, Bitcoin breaks into a macro bull trend. That would just be amazing for everyone. 2, we need scalability or some kind of reliable, scalable solution for Ethereum. That's where all the love is. That's where all the users are. We need a relief valve. Polkadot would be for sure a version of that. It would start the interoperable sort of internet of blockchains. That would be amazing. But again, user adoption, I'm not expecting to be overnight there. You're expecting that to go in phases, right? And so looking at the milestones, I would say ETH 2.0 is a huge milestone. And I was going to say for staking rewards, but why ETH? The vault the vault here on Yearn Finance, they have this ETH vault now, and it's making 94% APY. Like, what is going on here, right? What is going on here? So that is pretty incredible staking rewards. And so if people are able to just ride ETH, be long on ETH, and make essentially a double of just from holding their ETH in this vault, that's just astonishing, right? Astonishing. So I think that ETH2 presents staking opportunities, scalability, and that would just be an absolutely amazing thing for the ecosystem. I also think regulation, right? I think having clearer regulation from regulators is another big evolution of the industry. But nothing to me will be as impactful as a mainstream product Why did most people get internet? Why did most people need mobile web on their phones? A lot of it came from social media, from Facebook app, from Instagram, from all of the new types of experiences that were only available if you had a phone, a smartphone, and essentially data plan. And so the acceleration of the internet and the adoption of the internet was essentially supercharged significantly by mainstream adopted products that continued to build user bases. We still don't really have that, right? We don't. DeFi is a very interesting thing, but do you think that this is a mainstream use case? Maybe one day, right? Maybe one day you go into your bank of the future, you put in your paycheck, and they say, hey, we're going to yield farm with this. Great. But as far as a mainstream use case, I'm talking more like a consumer-facing product, like a social media network. In my personal belief is that it'll be a video game, because gamers already buy digital assets, and they also buy digital currency to use in digital worlds. So I think they're a great population to take this up. But those are the different big milestones I see ahead for crypto, is that we get interoperability, we get scaling for ETH, we get a breakout on the Bitcoin chart, we get a Bitcoin ETF possibly on the mainstream stock exchange. And now all of those things would be phenomenal, right? All of those things would come with, I think, levels of adoption. $10 super chat from Kangaroo Does Crypto. Have you looked into Acuity Social, formerly Mix, integrating into the .network Kusama? No, I haven't, but I will. Thanks for that. SoftLink, nah, I'm not bullish on that. It might pump, but it just seems a little... The rebase projects, I just got soured on Ample, right? Because I thought Ample was going to be so exciting, and it very well might, right? But it just seemed that everyone knocked off Ample so quickly that I worry that it will be hard for any one of them to keep their momentum, because really what people want are those rebases. That's why people are using it. It's for the rebases. Would it become this non-correlated asset that really essentially offsets risk baskets in the DeFi world? For sure, but there's a lot of things that could do that, right? There's a lot of things that could do that. So I think the primary use case for an Ample is to give you gains and to give you rebases. And while it's under $1, nobody wants they run away from it. And while it's over $1, people will flock to it. But once it gets too big, it's going to be easier for a lot of the big wallets to jump into a smaller rebaser and sort of get bigger gains there. Now, do I think Ample will pump again? Clearly it will. Clearly there'll be pumps, but I think I'm not fully sold on the rebasers. I'm really not. I'm sort of waiting and seeing. I'm thrilled by it. I'm fascinated by it, but I'm not fudding them either. I'm just not personally as bullish. Litecoin Mimblewimble, DOS Stellar. Any opinion? So Litecoin Mimblewimble, yeah, like Litecoin's this, I don't think Litecoin has a very strong addition to this space right now. They used to describe it as silver to Bitcoin's gold. I don't know if I believe in that narrative, right? It's definitely an OG coin. It'll continue to stick around like Doge and all these old assets. But I don't think adding like a feature like a Mimblewimble makes it anything that it wasn't before, right? I don't think it serves too much of a use case, right? And so Litecoin's interesting, but Ethereum and all the things happening and scalability there and Polkadot and all those things are much more interesting to me. DOS, as I understand, was making tremendous moves. I definitely heard some FUD. So before I give you my full stamp here, I did cover this thing back when it had like a $2.5 million market cap. So got a 10x off of it, right? But I'm not sure. I believe it's a strong project. I just also haven't checked into some of the FUD that people talked about, right? As far as Stellar is one of my OG favorite projects, right? I'm a big fan of Jed McCaleb, the founder, who actually founded Ripple and actually created the first ever global Bitcoin exchange called MT Gox, which people call Mt. Gox, but it actually stood for a Magic the Gathering online exchange where he would actually sell Magic the Gathering cards for Bitcoin. So that was interesting stuff. Big fan of Stellar, but again, the whole idea of a payments token or a payments network, I don't believe that that's as strong. I think that there's chance, right? There's a chance that XRP and Stellar become like these banking networks, but I've seen very low progress compared to what I hoped for. Definitely not the same excitement as 2017. And I've historically been a huge champion of Stellar, but I will need to check in to see, they just don't really publish a lot of updates. They don't really show a lot of differentiation. And, I think they're struggling to find their foothold in the industry. That said, I know some other partners that are partnering with Stellar, and Jed's a genius, right? He might pull something out. But for right now, I can't tell you why I'm bullish on it. And I like to have narratives and reasons. Narratives and reasons won't always land you in the right place. But having a narrative and a reason, I find statistically, will get me more often than not into the right place. Thanks again for the quality content, brother. Any thoughts on gear? Daniel Humphreys. Yes, gear. So I need to do a dive into gear and guard before I can give you my full breakdown. Thank you for the tip. I really appreciate it. But unfortunately, I can't give you what you're looking for. Have I looked into BZRX? Had a massive run up and now dump. So here's the thing about BZRX. I covered it back at like 20 cents, and BZRX is kind of in this more established early batch of sort of, I guess the early wave of the DeFi projects here. And so I was expecting them, because they were underperforming, to start overperforming and to get a big pump. I was absolutely right about that. But as far as long-term advantages over some of the bigger platforms, now that they've had their big pump, I'm not sure, right? Something like a BZRX, why is it supposed to keep pumping over its competitor platforms? That's something that I can't answer for you. And when I can't answer it for you, I think it's a good idea that you would go into, take some profits and move into projects that have a little bit more of a narrative behind them as to why they're going to grow. That's how I manage. And so that's my belief on BZRX is, I've already had a 10x off it pretty much, or almost that. So, all right, guys. Yes, IBM is backing Stellar. IBM is a big backer of Stellar. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean that Stellar is going to grow. It's already a huge project, right? Stellar's already huge, right? Bought Poly back in 2018, silently at work. Polymath? Is that Polymath that you're talking about? Yeah, I was big on the STOs, the security token offering platforms. But I'm just, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, TrustSwap. I'm big on TrustSwap. You guys know I'm a big fan of TrustSwap. Big fan of Jeff and the gang. They have a lot of big plans. Like, they just unleashed a ton of plans, right? And let me go to TrustSwap here. TrustSwap. And yeah, so they had a big announcement where they onboarded a big executive. They're building a futures DEX, which you guys know I'm big on my derivatives, right? I believe that that's where some of the biggest money bags are going to go in this industry, period. Which is, of course, after Serum, it's hard to see a lot of people competing, but it's a big market, a quadrillion-dollar market. Remember that. 1,000 trillions, right? We're not even at half a trillion in this market, right? So multiply that by 2,000 and you have the opportunity, right? Futures DEX with fees going to swap stakers. So this is very interesting, right? I love this tokenomics. However, it's a big promise to deliver on. If they can deliver on this, amazing. But then they need to get users. They need to smooth out the experience, get liquidity. There's a lot of question marks on this. But again, I love what they're doing. They keep pumping out the updates. They also have the update that, where is it? So they're going to be rewarding long-term holders with average daily swap held ADSH. This allows us to reward both long-term and high-volume holders. Essentially, they're rewarding you based upon how many swap you've had for how long, with a month being, I guess, or 28 days or something. Is it 26 and a half days? I forget which day period, but that essentially you get a 1.0, like a full release of this ADSH for 10,000 for holding 20,000 for 26 days. Gotcha. Yeah. So they're doing some math here, but essentially they're rewarding people for holding swap longer and at higher amounts. Again, Jeff gets the tokenomics, and they're also cranking out some of their core functionality, this is what I really wanted them to do, right? I wanted them to actually publish their time locking contracts. I wanted them to publish their milestone-driven smart ICO stuff. I wanted them to get the launchpad ready, because I believe that that's where the value is. If they get the launchpad ready, then the sky's the limit for them. So I'm really excited for TrustSwap actually delivering their core functionality, and I hope that they do this other stuff. But as a software developer, I really hope they stay focused here and knock off their first initial objectives first before moving on to some of this fancy stuff. It seems like they're adding a lot of bells and whistles. But here, yeah, they said team lock tokens, investor token locks, escrow services, multiple recurring payments, single event future payments, P2P token swaps, plus more. And so they're saying fully built and under audit. So this is very interesting if they have this stuff already fully built and under audit. very exciting if they're actually delivering. And so once they deliver this stuff, I'm really bullish on, the extra stuff that they're adding down here, if that makes sense. Lucky's not a YouTuber, he's a Twitter. Alrighty, guys. I'm starting to get a little raspy here. Oh, Swapfolio fans are really looking forward to seeing your review. You talked to the devs, yes. Sorry to disappoint Swapfolio fans, but I am not a fan. Hello, love your content, very informative. I got late on the last bull run, so now I'm speculating that this bull run will last 1 year. What's your thought? Yep, your guess is as good as mine, guys. You got to, at every stage, you need to understand that no bull run is promised. No guarantee here. So if you're getting a 10x, a 20x, a 30x on your money, you need to be taking profits both from altcoins into Ethereum and Bitcoin, and then at logical destinations from Ethereum and Bitcoin into fiat. That's how I'm playing it. I actually outlined my vision on how I do that and updated it today. I was doing a 10-10-40-40, but now I've upgraded it given this crazy sea of DeFi trash that has flooded the ecosystem. I'm starting to upgrade the actual amount I'm putting into Bitcoin. So I'm doing a 10, 20, 30, 40. So 10% into Ethereum. Say I get a 5x, right? Or 10x, right? I'll put 10% into Ethereum, 20% into Bitcoin, 30% stays in that coin, and 40% gets put into Ethereum with the intention and earmarked to reinvest. That's how I'm handling it. So if the bull run lasts for another year, blessed be the fruit here. But you don't hedge and you don't bet on the bull run lasting a year. This is a crazy bull run, and every day is a blessing, but we just don't know how long these things go. I think the election is going to be a big inflection point. So we'll see what happens on November 3rd. I'll be hedging and taking some profits in the lead up there. And then if the bull run kicks off to another extent, we'll see January is typically a slow month. So I might hedge and take some profits before New Year. And then of course, if things start kicking off really nicely in the Q1, Q2 of next year, well, that's a great sign. That's a great sign. And that'll mean that this thing will probably keep chugging through 2021. Of course, you guys know that I'm hugely intently following the stimulus. The stimulus and the policies coming out of the Federal Reserve are critical for us to understand the macro landscape, as this free cash that has been flooding the ecosystem is something that is absolutely critical to understand if we want to know what's been giving this particular bull run rocket fuel. With that said, I just want to thank each and every one of you. It's been an absolutely phenomenal journey over the course of the last few weeks. The channel is growing at an unprecedented rate, and it's thanks to you guys. It's thanks to the energy in the community. And so I'm going to keep building off that, keep working my tail off to give you guys the highest quality of information, and of course, hopefully get you ahead and better prepare you for this wild world that is cryptocurrency. If you guys aren't following me on Twitter, I encourage you to follow me there. And if you guys want to join my Telegram community, I highly encourage you to join me, t.me/ElioTradesCrypto. And of course, if you're not subscribed to this channel, I believe we're doing some of the best content in the space. I'm working my butt off to accomplish that. And so I encourage you guys to subscribe, as we'll be covering some low cap gems and some hidden gems that of course have some tremendously explosive opportunities for profit, which of course I believe is the biggest gift I can give to you guys. Not financial advice, just my opinion. And so far things have been going extremely well. And it's been a true joy of mine to hear that these gems, that these calls, that these picks have been helping people in their lives, helping them get ahead of this market. And so I'm going to do my best to keep delivering that value to you guys. And there's a lot more that I have in store for you guys. So stay tuned. Please subscribe, like, comment. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Elio Trades, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.